thank you
Mm-hmm.
for coming on the show. I'm really
Thank you for having us.
excited because this is one of those times where I get to really reflect on like how long we've been doing this.
Mm.
Because y'all both have come on the show before
Mm-hmm.
seasons ago when we first started.
It's real.
This studio wasn't even around yet. They still had the small studio
That's right.
out in
Moving
Reynoldsburg.
on up
They've
now. We up here. Look at
expanded.
it.
Yeah, State House Studio has expanded from Dreamcatchers. Everybody has like leveled up, like in a lot of different ways, right? Like really, I think you had just moved back from West Coast, was
Yep.
it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And
Oakland,
you and I
California.
have continued to like stay friends and build and talk about like political thought a lot, and you've continued your organizing. And I don't know, I was thinking about that on the way over here. So I have a lot of gratitude for that, and I have a lot of gratitude for both of y'all for coming on behalf of Black Men Build. So we have two special guests. We have Kamal, who's the lead hub organizer for Black Men Build, and Ekundayo, who's the director of political education and culture for Black Men Build. So thank y'all so much for. I know you could have gone and talked to anybody, or you could have one on your own we all have our own platforms, and you could have gone there and said whatever you needed to say. And I'm just really appreciative because I've been watching y'all's work and I really admire what you're doing in terms of organizing. So I just appreciate you choosing to come on Columbus Can't Wait.
Yeah, it's a easy. I mean, there's really no other place that's as aligned than what you've been building.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, when we got the link, it was like, oh yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Even though me and you talk all the time and stuff, it was just like, oh yeah, we need to do this.
Yeah.
Made
We
more
should do
sense
this.
than
I know
anything.
we're always talking about
Yeah.
we're always talking about this stuff, but we're also always talking about like family and all these
Yeah,
other
like
things,
actual
and we
check-in
don't
and stuff.
always get around to like what do we need to go like do to put some of the stuff, because we're putting stuff into practice like separately, right? So you said something about like the collective earlier that I really liked. So I think this is just you know, this is the seeds of all that.
Because you made me think about, you said it's separate, and I can see how they're connected. Like the fact that you all speak about your families, that's how y'all built that connection, that camaraderie, that community is like through the relationship. Y'all talking about,
Yep.
you get to the political, but it's like you got to have that like that foundation of like, who are you? Like, can I actually go there with you? And now that I can do that, we
Right.
can talk about everything.
And there's a trust level, I think, sometimes that somehow gets missed in terms of like bringing people together and organizing people. But like y'all both know that you have to have a certain level of trust to be in community with people. So I've
Indeed.
just really been excited over the years to get to have folks like y'all on the show and like spotlight what you're doing.
Right
So
Yeah.
again, thank you. And so we're here to talk about Black Men Build
Yeah.
today. So from what I know about y'all, like I said, I've been following you for a while. I know that you're a grassroots organization. And I was reading on your website that your mission is to give Black men and their families all the tools necessary to become a powerful, organized political force for liberation. A lot of words in there I like. So talk to me about how y'all are going to do that.
Yeah, well,
And why? Like, why did this get started? I saw it was founded in 2019. Like, talk to me about the origins and like how you plan to get to the mission and how you're getting to the mission.
yeah. So, part of the mission is we are a membership organization as well, right? So we're a grassroots membership-based organization. We are in 8 different cities right now. If we had capacity and bandwidth, we'd probably be in 20. One of the things you should learn from struggle is the Black Panther Party expanded so fast, and they also folded pretty fast. Fast, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they officially closed doors in 1980, but people look about 73, 74 when it was like, okay, like things is really happening in a way that is not healthy.
Right.
Yeah, so it's important to move at a pace that will have longevity.
Well, and will also keep you well and healthy.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
Because part of it was just people not being well anymore because of the
Yeah.
complexities and pressures of trying to fight against systems.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not even sure how they pay folks and all that stuff, but we have a staff, which means that we put workers first. As an organization, put people first, right? But if we're hiring people, you put workers first, and so that requires a certain amount of fundraising, and we want to make sure we get money from the right people or the left
Right.
people. But okay,
Well, I mean, if you
but absolutely right.
Yeah.
So
you
if
gotta
we-
watch who you take money from. 'Cause then
yeah,
you
because
become
that's also a
beholden.
political statement.
Yeah.
But to the point is, I say, we Black Men Build. We are, a leftist organization looking to bring about a revolution at some point. As in, we want to govern, right? We want the people to govern, not Black Men Build, but we want for Black people and their families to be able to govern and have control over their material conditions. Period.
When
and
you
so-
say material conditions, what do you mean?
That means that the material conditions is how they get paid, what they eat, how they're able to the education system, where they send their kids. They shouldn't have, the housing situations, right, where they want to live, how they live. The material conditions is anything in the physical realm
Right.
that can be controlled. We want people to be able to have that control over their lives.
Yeah.
Period. Right. Not capitalism, not a government that we vote in, but don't have power to move them. We want families, Black people, to have control over their destiny.
Yeah.
And so that's what we mean by material conditions. We started officially in 2020. A few reasons we started. We started because there is no organization that is, well, take that back. There is no organization that is actively focused to organize Black men into struggle, off the sidelines, into movement. There's organizations that are organizing Black men successfully, not so successfully. We also know that was one thing. We also know that a lot of brothers who are marginalized are not being organized. Brothers who've been in prison, brothers who are still behind the wall, brothers who are in the street, etc. Right? Brothers that are not being actually organized. They're not being thought of. There's not a strategy to bring them into the struggle.
Yeah.
And they're brilliant, and they're doing great things in their community and their families. And there are brothers that need some help to tighten their politics. They need help to move them beyond the patriarchy. The what up, King? I mean, and say it,
Yeah.
not
so
even
many
jokingly,
levels.
right?
No.
Because that we don't want to reinforce monarchy, right? But but we do still want to reinforce that's still a symbol of I see you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so
The
and then so
language matters.
yeah, language matters,
Yeah.
right? And so we still, we cast a wide net. We want to bring brothers into a particular place. So that's one. Two, we do know who's organizing Black men, and that's the right. So when we look
Yeah.
at the numbers from 2016 onward, more and more brothers are being moved into the conservative right. Brother, not necessarily MAGA, right? But that too. But they are being moved to the right, whether it's online through the manosphere and all these ridiculous podcasts and whatever, and be a man and eat your food raw and
Yeah.
whatever
Never
you treat
split
your wife
bills.
and yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then and then thirdly, Black women was also like, hey, we need y'all we need something from y'all. We need y'all to be an
Yeah.
organized force. And this is where, we come up with new men. New men must be born. We need to organize new men to be new men.
Yeah.
Different, not defining what a man is. That's actually in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Because, we talking about something more than that, right?
Yeah. And that's that. I think that's one of the things that's why I'm so happy that like in this city, y'all are leading this, because I do think that there is just a narrow perspective around what a Black man is,
Yeah.
and being able to come into a space that invites you to be who you are, explore who you are, but also respects, like, I think sometimes we don't respect the origins of like where folks come from. But when you have the context, right, then you're able to like meet people where they are instead of saying like you're bad because you are that way.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated what you said about organizing Black men. Like there are organizations that are organizing Black men, but you have to be a certain kind of Black man. You have to show up in a certain way, right? You have to have a degree. You have to, and like a lot of the Black men that raised me are not that way, right? And I often struggle with that because I'm like, if I were to bring them into some of the spaces that I'm in, would they be accepted, right? Because there's this idea of what a Black man has to be in order to be in community with other Black men and to be seen as successful, quote unquote.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I love like that this seems like it's a space for where everyone can come in.
Yeah, and the last thing I say, you know, and I'll just pause for a moment. Not that Killer Cam and Mace pause, but actual take a pause.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Hilarious, bro.
I want to say, you know, a part of the charge too, right, is, and this is, I think, what does separate us a bit, right? And we're you know, we see ourselves as a reflection of our brothers in our community, not something separate, but what makes us unique. Many things, but one of the things that does make us unique is our engagement with patriarchy. And part of that is we understand how violence functions, right? We know that we can talk about the system, we can talk about governance, but a sister, a Black woman, majority of the violence she receives is from another brother. It's just geography. It's just what it is. Yeah. So we need to, so that's something that when we talk about our kids, when we talk about our youth, when we talk about the women in our community and our families, that violence, that history that they have, that trauma, yeah, we could talk about the white man and the system, which is all true.
Yeah.
But who's executing that on the day-to-day, right? In the community, in the household, and not always, right? I'm not saying every Black man by far, I mean, it's, you know, but that experience is with a brother. It's with an uncle. It's with a boyfriend, a husband, a sibling. You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about organizing Black men and our families to be new men, right? We need to show up differently as fathers. We need to show up differently as siblings, as sons, right? All of that, you know, and that's the long game, right? That's a cultural change that just needs to happen.
Yeah,
we say, "Come as you are, but grow as you go." Come, everybody's welcome to our spaces, but I almost stopped you to do this because, like in B&B fashion, we have our values. Like every entry point, every access point to anything.
Y'all
B&B,
answering all my questions.
It's all good, but it's all good. But every entry point, access point, if you ever see us out and about, we attract people with our war times, all of our marketing. But we have our values pledge. Just 5 values that kind of let you know you're in the right space, or is in the space for you. They go as follows: we're critical thinkers. We're curious about this moment. We're transforming to meet this moment. We're taking an active and responsible role in freeing our communities. We're bonded with Black women and all Black people for the fight for true freedom. And those are the 5. But then there's like an asterisk that we're fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for the collective. Anybody fighting for themselves or financial gain need not apply. This is a reminder we're fighting for Black liberation, fighting for power for Black people. If you come into space fighting for just yourself, then again, this may not be the space for you. So again, we invite all brothers into our space, but we try and set the tone so we can know what the kind of energy we want to cultivate in the spaces that we develop are, and also attract our tribe and develop brothers that may be attracted for the wrong reasons, and then give them a space to just develop and be like, all right, bro, yeah, I'm glad you're here, so now let's keep talking about it.
Yeah.
Because other places they may show you, they may not want to talk to you at all. You may not be allowed there anymore, and you can come back. There are definitely points in which we have a hard line in which, hey, bro, we might need to take some time, but most often.
We ain't throwing nobody away.
We're not throwing nobody away. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the way that it should be. And I appreciated all of the principles that you talked about, but especially like critical thinking and curiosity. Because I think that those are the things that like are pivotal and critical to not throwing people away. Like if people are open to being curious about whatever ideas that they had that may be harmful to their communities, to their families, if they're coming in and saying like, I want to talk about and engage with this, then I love that there's a place for that to happen. And it's amongst, you know, other Black men, because like nothing can take the place of like going to therapy and things like that, but everybody don't have access to that, right? And so the second best thing is community, right?
It's a precursor to therapy. We tell a lot of our brothers, this is not a replacement for therapy. Like a lot of our brothers in their spaces may have never been to therapy, so this is like that warm up, that gateway to therapy, and we always remind them of that. Like for our new men's tour, we're going to speak about, we're making sure we have therapists in the space to be like, hey, bro, like you're going to unpack and unload some things if we really do our job thoroughly, and if you open up and become vulnerable. We want to be responsible with that. So we're going to do the best we can here, but there's other places that you can go to really to keep that journey going and to do what you need.
What is your like process when people are coming in and wanting to engage? Is it first like kind of having folks come into your circle, talk to them and see who they are, sort of figure out where they are, and then do you start talking more about political education? Like how does that, as much as you can share, because
you can start and I can kind of fill in if you want.
Yeah.
Hopefully you brought me deeper into organizing.
So I would say, and actually before even answering that, I would like you to talk about the piece, the fifth value.
Yes, I got you. Yeah.
Because so we do organize Black men, but not just Black men.
Yeah.
right.
We have staff. We have organizers. We have on staff. We have women. In Milwaukee, New York, we have lead hubs that are women. We have women's circles. Miami has a women's circle. Sometimes they are all gender circles. We know the mission to freeing our people, to freeing Black men, isn't only the mission and the work just of Black men. We know that Black women want to be involved. They want to be engaged. You know, we hear, women all the time are like, how can I send my son? How can I send my whatever? But also like, can I come to these events?
Yeah.
Can I? Now, the men's circle is just for men who identify as men, but everything else is free for everybody. PE, mutual aid, whatever we doing. So I just want to highlight that it is a lot of Black women who are engaged, like on a day-to-day, or show up
Flanking
to our
and supporting.
Yeah, that too. So
Got it.
They called us into this work. They motivate us to keep focused. So
Yeah.
we're thinking about that. I'm personally thinking about that a lot. Like seeing what they have going on in Miami was really inspiring. We all come from Black women. We have Black women in our lives. So thinking about how to make that a part of our work. We're getting warmer and warmer. I'm going to speak to that at another time, but we're definitely getting warmer in that direction. And to that point, I feel like it's bonded with Black women and all Black people. We really try to make a space that all people are invited to our space. And we realize that all genders, all walks of life, like it's not just a Black and white who we're fighting for. It's really like the entire Black community, like all ages.
So you're taking an intersectional approach.
100%, yeah. That's the only way it can be a safe space for all. That's the only way that we can continue to evolve the people and all of us in that space and develop healthy practices, keep each other accountable. We can't talk about protecting our communities if we don't establish those kind of values. So we definitely, something that B&B leads into heavy. When I talk about those, we attract all people, but we have hard conversations. I actually have been loving that part of the work. Like I was just on the way up here, I was talking about one of our brothers who he's our best canvasser, easy. Like there's certain things where like we have different tiers, members, affiliates, gorillas. Like he's a really amazing gorilla. Like when it comes to doing that on the ground, like grassworks, actually connecting with people. A lot of people are afraid. We're so in the digital age. He will really speak to people about stuff. Really good at it. Has some beliefs that we have to work on and evolve.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to like doing that with him so that we can go a deeper bond and I can have a deeper comrade. Like otherwise, that could be somebody who's like somebody that may be, I'm trying to think, I would say opposition or enemy because that's a weird word to put on one of my brothers, but I feel like it could be somebody who's counterproductive to what we're trying to do. If we're not trying to bring them in.
But it's also like sad for me when I recognize that everybody can't go where I'm trying to go. Yeah. So I say
but you
with
can do it
that
for
a lot.
everybody.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear.
Yeah, I can. I can, but I've had to, I think, realize that like sometimes once I've done the work and put the work in, that sometimes maybe this is just something I need to move on from and go to the next thing. Um, but like I said, I appreciate that. Like that's a challenging part, I think, of organizing
Yeah.
work. Like, what's the most challenging part of all this for y'all?
Well, I mean, to your question too, right? That you know, gets into the challenge. When the process, right? There's many entry points. We usually tell people, sign the pledge. If you're interested, read our values, sign the pledge. Read our 5 values, sign the pledge. You know, you sign the pledge, you get tapped into our database, you get texts, emails, et cetera, et cetera.
Get your award time
Just
one time.
Get your award time just to be tapped in. And that way, we invite them to a men's circle. We have them twice a month. Come to a men's circle. The men's circle ain't always. It is a healing practice, but we don't talk about healing all the time, right? Like, we talk about a range of things. Sometimes we talking about politics. Sometimes we talking about politics. Sometimes we talking about
Just life.
safety. Yeah, just life. Like, you know what I'm saying? We do a check-in. Like, how's your day? And we may spend an hour on that. You know what I'm saying?
One of my favorite warrior circles, a brother came in there. We had a whole topic and a whole thing. We were trying to get real methodical and just like strategic. He came in there with a story on his heart about something that happened to him during that day about something that happened with his daughter. And he really needed to like vent to us about it. We made our whole 2 hours about supporting and like giving advice and exchanging wisdom with that brother. And that was healing. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So the circle is always the entry point. The part that's hard sometimes is to move people beyond the circle.
Yeah.
Because the circle, you give and you receive. But when we, and we have one-to-ones, that's also one of the ways, right? When we have one-to-ones to really see what folks, the brothers, their self-interest is, what are you interested in? What do you want to get into? This is what we doing. I'm not going to have you doing data entry when like you hate computers and like you good at talk, like, talking to people one-on-one, right?
Yeah.
But we know, like, to sustain an organization, for it to be well, sometimes you have to do things you don't want to.
100%.
So we need my brothers to do that data entry, to show up to that PE, to show up to that protest, and those are the harder things. But again, those entry points, there are, we started a book club a little over a year ago, and I couldn't, the brothers that show up to that book club, they show up to it religiously. They may come to a circle here and there, if I make a direct ask, but that's their lane, that's their space.
Yeah.
So the challenge is always, how can we get them to be involved in various things, right? Capacity and bandwidth.
Build that culture. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But how can and that's the part, the weaving. How can we get people to weave in and out of their discomfort in certain places and certain spaces that they can still contribute to. And then we're trying to organize, again, brothers who probably never been asked to join an organization, actually. And I think about how often are people asked to join an organization that's not transactional,
Right.
but that we need your brilliance, we need your spirit, we need your energy, we need your sadness, we need your struggle, we need you. We need you to be here to fulfill the mission. The mission don't get fulfilled without you, literally.
Yeah.
And so there's that kind of thing. I mean, you know how Columbus is when it comes to organizing. And
Yeah.
Folks get really comfortable in whatever reality they've created for themselves or that they're used to. Cognitive dissonance is something that we all deal with. So to get somebody to ask those hard questions about, like, is everybody in your family comfortable? Like, is there more that you could do? Do you have more time? Like, just asking hard questions about how they feel about things and just going deeper about just the reality in your day to day and our all collective reality. I feel like it's not even, and I feel like I'm making it generic and in general, but that's how real it is. Like, I feel like the effects of white supremacy and capitalism, we feel a lot of those things collectively. And I can talk to you about the day to day thing, and we'll probably get to it.
Yeah.
So to think that that's the life that we're all living. Do you want to do something about that? And to get somebody to know that it's possible. Like, a lot of us have been jaded. A lot of them been discouraged to want to do anything. We're afraid. We've Black men have been strategically targeted over time, to not speak up and to be advocates for themselves in their community. So to get somebody to disrupt what's working for them, it's like, bro, I'm getting money, and a lady, like I'm good. Just like
and we have a lot of Black faces in high places.
Yeah,
so
like a lot of Black excellence in Columbus. Like Black liberation is what we are trying to lean into and build culture around that. But Black excellence isn't enough. Like it's good. We need that. Like I want to tell my stories of Black Wall Street, but I want to talk more about how that doesn't have to be stopped. We can maintain that, and those are dreams that we should continue to keep having.
And I don't want Black excellence to be monolith. You know what I mean? Like excellence can mean so many different things. And I think that when people say Black excellence, it means like something very specific.
Yeah, it's class.
Yeah.
So, and I think that one of the things that I have noticed, not being from Columbus, is that I do think that there's a sense here that Black folks can have the opportunity to like climb this ladder to comfortability. And it breeds comfortability, right? Like everything's okay. I'm good. People in my family, mostly, they're good. And so, but they're really not. And I think like you getting to what you said about asking those hard questions, and they're uncomfortable, right? Like, cause once you see it, you can't unsee it. Yeah. And you're like, okay, what do I have? What is within my sphere of like things that I can control, or what can I contribute to? And I think that a lot of times people feel like, how can I actually like, the problem seems so big, right? And I could see, does that make sort of organizing here something that makes it, I don't see Columbus as this place that has it has a long history of organizing, but it's not like a place like Oakland or somewhere like that where people have like come through.
I talk about this a lot. I've been talking about this a lot. And we'll get to maybe we can segue. We have this tour going on. And I've been thinking about some of the challenges that I have versus some of the challenges other people have. Like St. Louis, LA, like Atlanta. I'm just like, look at the numbers. That Black population is booming. So we can even start there. And then what is the culture of those populations? So when you think about Pan-Africanism and you think about like just cultural identity in a critical way,
or even if y'all were like in Cincinnati.
Yeah, exactly. Like Cleveland, like it's different things. So it does become difficult because there isn't, it's not celebrated. It's not like a norm. It's not a norm here. But that's changing. That's the one thing I like to say is there's a term that I like to hear from folks who do activist work, is we're the ones we've been waiting for. That's not the case right now for much longer. There's a lot of young folks, a lot of organizations in which
well, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah,
that's what 100%. We're like actively in here doing. Right? It's like saying we exist, and you can come with us, and be a part of this.
100%.
And I think that's it's really cool to have seen, right? To have been around to see some of those changes over the last like 15 years, 10, 15 years. How long have I been here? That's neither here nor there. It's happening.
Yeah. You're paying it forward. Somebody like did it to you, like made you think critically. Now it's like, can you try to help somebody else do that? Like that's the goal of anybody that's woke or thinking like in a way that is bringing peace to them or bringing answers that lead towards liberation. Bring somebody with you.
Yeah. What's our new word though? Because the right done took woke. And
that's what I was like. It's weird to say it. Like even weird to say it.
A
like
slur. DEI is a slur now. Like I'm like,
they can't have it though. They could like critique it and make us think twice about it. It's like how you can still listen to Drake. You just be thinking funny about it sometimes. It's like you just like it's yours. It's claim that. Own that.
Like it was. It's still ours. Like whether you try to make it into something else. We know what the origins are.
Like in the order, like Erykah Badu, Georgia Monroe. Like I look at the history of like where we like developed these words. Like you can't take that from us. There's a lot of times where people. May try and change the connotation, and he's like, bro, nah, like it's still ours, so we just expanded the spectrum of it now. Now it means more things, and I'm okay with that. You may be trying to demonize it, but now it's
things that are demonized are all good things. Like I want healthcare for all. That's woke. Okay, fine. I guess so. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. So they're not bad things. At all.
I actually want to reclaim Hotep.
Word. You want to go back? Okay.
Talk to me about that.
Well, I mean, you know, and
Go there, bro.
Our people, you know, I want to reclaim it because you know it's a part of our history.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like Hotep was brilliant. You know, brought forth mathematics and medicine. Yeah, right. And
It's not a myth. Like
Yeah, it's not a myth.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Now, you know, we know what we
know what it means now.
culturally.
Yeah.
You know where that comes from, but yeah, you know, again, like that's when brothers wake up, but they wake up and patriarchy isn't part of their analysis, and so
But part of
and
that
so
is
sisters
part
got to
of
be like, you know what I'm saying?
It's a pseudo intellectualism in there.
You know what I'm
if
saying?
you're not steered the right
it's
way.
also
Yeah.
it's the also is brothers who ain't really studied, or want to live in the past. They want to live in a way where the black man was in control. When we talk about new men, we don't want to be in control. We want to govern, but we want it to be a collective thing,
Yeah.
right? It's not bound by gender or sex.
Well,
But
I mean, like
that's
you
what
said,
they
if
are.
you
That's what they doing. You know, they like, I want to go back to where I was a king and I was in control. I'm like, ain't no going back.
And you're like,
Ain't no going back,
actually,
fam.
women
We
were.
only going forward.
You do the whole
Part
do the
of
history,
these-
like matriarchal
Yeah.
society is
Exactly.
really
But they
a
don't
bad
wanna-
thing. I don't know
they
where we
don't-
got that. Yeah.
They're very selective. You know, brothers had multiple wives. You know, all of that.
Like tell the whole man,
Yeah.
that's why I love
Like-
I love the black
Well,
man
like
business.
that's fine, but like examine why you want to do that.
Yeah.
Don't say it's because.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
go into
You know what I
the
mean?
historical analysis as to why that was. There was reasons why. I'm gonna go there right now. If you go to war, I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna bring it back to why because of political education.
Oh Lord, y'all,
It's
we
the-
about to
yeah.
go viral.
I'm not gonna go super Hotep, but I'm gonna keep it simple. But I'm gonna keep it relevant because it's actual fact. If you are going to war torn like times you're fighting and battling, and the most astute, most like healthiest men of the village are going out to war. If some of them don't come back, and that man had a wife and children, and one of the dudes that comes back, he doesn't have a wife, but he's abundant, he's wealthy. There's ways in which you, as a village, you take care of each other. So I feel like it's become something else because of like things get lost in translation. But when we do this family togetherness, it's not coming from some lower vibrational. It's like it comes from things that a lot of folks aren't ready for in our modern day society.
And it's
Like,
not coming
who
from
aren't
like
emotional-
dominance.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
again a collective, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but
we're
I
doing
also
this to.
and I take it another layer.
Yeah.
We also romanticize as if back then they were perfect. No, brothers was also on some bullshit.
Go there. Yeah.
There's a book, and it's fiction, but it's good. It's called Things Fall Apart.
Yeah.
I'm like, you read that? That brother was beating his wives, his kids. He was not a good man. You know what I'm saying?
You
He
read
was
that
an
exercise
angry,
that.
violent man his trauma was passed down, and it was the system, right? It was the system of the village that allowed for this to be okay, right? The other men it was okay. It's not even an okay thing. It was just what it was.
Right.
That it
was the
your
norms.
wives get out of line, you beat them. Your kids get out of line, you beat them. And it's just like, nah, fam. Nah,
Well, who's
but
that working
it's
for?
tradition,
Like-
it's culture, it's back then.
Who's
It's
benefiting
like
from that shit?
not everything back then also was okay.
100%.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna romanticize it. You know, you got even when we talking about Kemet in Egypt, I'm like,
Slavery.
but weren't there slaves?
Like, it
Who you
was-
think you thought Pharaoh made them pyramids?
yeah.
I don't think so.
Right.
It was you dead, next man up.
Yeah.
Next
There's a
worker up.
hierarchy
It still was hierarchy,
there.
and it still reinforces a civilization about dominance.
Mm-hmm.
However, and some people don't want to hear that, but I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's actually okay. Now, it wasn't perfect. There's beautiful things that happened then too. Absolutely, like same as today. But to say otherwise is to say,
Well, and it's like
Yeah.
peeling back the onion, right? Like, are you wishing for a simpler time?
yeah,
Things can still be, you can wish for that, right? Like something simpler without wishing for all of the harmful
100%.
things that were part of that, which is sometimes what I think is what people are trying to say they want. It's like, there's too
Like
many things
dissect.
coming at me
yeah.
that are hard for me to survive. So I wish that I was in this time because at that time I had all that I needed,
Yep.
right? And I had the collective around me.
Yeah.
And so I think that is sometimes what people are
Absolutely.
trying to say, but they're couching it in the narrative that they've learned around dominance.
That's why political education is so important. Like I feel
Yeah.
like the three like pillars of like our values that started is being critical, being curious, and transform. And it's in that order. You start to get critical.
Yeah.
Your curiosity leads you to doing some homework. That's why I'm like love tapping in with this brother. Like, and then you, like history really leads to empathy for me. Like once you do that actual homework, you're changed, you're transformed. Like a lot of us feel certain ways based on our lived experience, based on the homework we did do. If you were willing to keep having that conversation, to keep doing some research, it usually leads you to a space of understanding that it's usually, I don't know, I feel like it's peaceful, it's holistic. Like it doesn't have, rather than dissecting the pieces that work for you, it gives you the whole picture so that you can, I don't know, I feel like that's a better space to show up for your people rather than piecemealing it. And it's difficult. It's not easy to stay on that path of doing work. It's easy to veer and to be interested by other things, but to know that understanding history so you don't repeat it, so you can learn from it, so you can grow from it, is really vital, especially right now when you can stay in a loop. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, so also what I'm hearing from y'all, because I've heard this a lot from like a lot of different spheres, is like the disinformation, right? Makes everything so hard. So is that how you sort of like, are you combating that with like your book clubs and like your circles and all of those things to say like, yeah, I know you heard that on a podcast from X person, but here's actually where you could be trying to get this information, or here's where you should go for this information. It's accurate.
Yeah. And it's also how you curate knowledge,
Yeah.
right? Again, right? Black people read. Black people read and write,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
So the whole like, put it in a book, black person won't know. Like, stop it. Brothers,
Right.
Black brothers been reading. Stop. But what are you reading? Is the thing, right? And especially with all the disinformation or the curation, right? There's a brother that we building with, and he reads a lot, but he reads a particular type of text, and it all good, right? Diop, Karinga, et cetera, but there's a particular Asante. I can go on and on, right? These are pivotal texts, but they all have, but based on methodology, ideology, and
Do
what
you
they're
read
reading.
Audre Lorde? Do you read any of James Baldwin's work?
That's my point.
So
Exactly.
rounding
So it's
out-
curated in a particular
Do you read anything contemporary?
assessment of where we've been because of the transatlantic slave trade. So yes, it's important to know where we've been, but you're not reading where we are now or where we're going,
Yep.
right? So it reinforces again old knowledge, which is important, but it's only as important as you do a comparative analysis or a conjunctural analysis of where we are now,
Yeah.
right? And you don't know that if you're not reading Audrey, James, even they're not even reading. You reading Huey? You know what I'm saying?
You're not
Are you
speaking to
reading-
children or elders. Like,
Yeah.
bro, if you really locked into this box of which
Yeah.
is comfortable, then yeah, it's a real thing.
So part of my job, and not just my job, but what Black Men has been doing, is curating knowledge, where you're getting it from George Jackson, you're getting it from Assata Shakur, you're getting it from these different places, whether you're reading it or media or interviews or whatever. Wartime, you're getting, you may get a quote from CLR James. It may be like, oh, where that's from, that's a part of it as well, and that's why the PE is so important. One of the reasons why we offer PE is because as flawed as public school system, actually any school system actually is.
100%.
Once you reach a young adulthood, you're not required to learn.
Right.
Unless
we
you're
know what
learning
the
on the
third
job.
grade reading levels are. There's so many
Right.
kids who are passing their third grade. Because I was going to ask you that. What do you do with the people who come in your doors? Because this has been like, I won't get on my soapbox,
Your
but
thing is your show.
because
so
I spend a lot of time in political thought and I spend a lot of time on social media, I feel like there are a lot of people who are using words and phrases and modes of thought that the general person does not understand, and then like weaponizing them against people to say like, well, you don't want liberation because if you did, you would be, moving in the way of a socialist, or you would be moving in the way of a leftist. And like a lot of people don't. Somebody said this to me and it was so right. People are not educated. they're not stupid. They just have not been exposed to these modes of thought in a way that feels accessible to them. And that is one of my biggest like recent issues. It's like, how do we stop doing that and talk to people in a way that they can understand? And I think if we want to get to Black liberation, we have to understand all of the barriers. And one is that a lot of folks have come up through underperforming schools where they didn't have what they needed. Yep. And so there is a level of, again, not being educated in a way that makes it easier to understand these concepts, but that doesn't mean that you can't understand them. But folks on our side have to start making it so that it's easier to not easier to understand, but more digestible. Right? Like, how do I put this in a context that somebody can apply it to them?
And that's where method, pedagogy, teaching. Right, like how you teach. The critical thinking isn't go read Karl Marx and whatever. It's not. That's not it. Actually, the critical thinking is to help people understand methods of how to think. Right, like where to start.
Which is what school's supposed to teach you.
Exactly. So we start with let's just start with definitions. We can do that for a whole year. Literally, and it's not no shame.
Working on the glossary right now. Actually.
Working on the glossary, right? Just to work through terms.
Because y'all probably come to words too that you're like, oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm in.
You're a journey as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm working on my PhD. I'm still in them books. Like, what? Taking me mad long to get through certain texts. You know what I'm saying? And not that I have to for that study, and that's not something that I feel is necessary to do this work here. But ultimately, right, it's the same thing.
It's like how not to fall in the ivory tower trap of making things so hard that people just disengage, right?
That's not the point. So that's where the actual education comes in.
Yeah.
Right? Going through the process, the journey to learn together. And this is the point I was making is we get to a stage where we're not required to learn in community. All of a sudden it's on you to read by yourself. And it's like, nah. We want to always offer to the book club as a space for that. Yeah, you may read by yourself, but you're going to be in conversation. Even in the book club, if you don't read, you can still be a part of the conversation. The PE, whether we talking about a range of topics from Pan-Africanism to gender identity, to whatever the range, is to be a space where people can learn together. Maroon Arts Group does this well with the community learning groups, right? Is to do that. We do this with our mass calls. We do this with our Theory Thursday, right? So adults have
there's an entry point
spaces for learning.
Yeah. And then like the piece about families, like in my family, like with our daughter, there's not really any questions that she can't ask that we don't answer. Sometimes we answer them in a more appropriate, like at what we think is a more age appropriate way. But it's to challenge her to critically think, right? Like, because if you shut down every question that a child asks, it's not giving them the tools that they need to start thinking about those things and turning them over and making decisions for themselves. And so I also really love what y'all said about just like, it's in how you're teaching and teaching people how to think about, not what to think,
but how to think. And what to question. I mean, your daughter, she's critical thinking starts with critical questions. And she's asking critical questions. So to not give her the answer is defeating the formula. It literally is stopping the learning process, even if you got to be like, I can tell you more some other time, but what I can tell you is this, right?
And it feels weird when like super intellectual conversations build like another class, another group, like of folks who are separate from the rest of the community, to the point where it's disconnected information. And now my brain just went a bunch of different places, but the folks that really need to get that information to be in those rooms usually aren't in those spaces. So how do we get them into those spaces? And there's a lot of lived experience that isn't in that room. There's a lot of, I think that when you reward academic approaches to things, like if you only have at this level of education, then I only can validate what you're saying because of that. You miss out on the fact that there's a lot of wisdom and intellectual that a lot of things you can learn from other parts of how we express ourselves. Like
I work at a nonprofit, and subject matter experts are actually in the streets. They're not.
Like
you know what I mean?
The human-centered design, like we have to reapproach the world in a different way. Where if we only validated on the systems and our modes of understanding things, then we miss out on the fact that those are systems that we're trying to break down. And a lot of our geniuses and the way that we show our skills come up in different ways that we don't acknowledge enough. Like, and if we make something that everybody should understand so convoluted that now only us understand it, what do we really do here? Like it seems like a waste of time. It's counter. That's I think about that a lot. I call myself sometimes like I represent the ignorant, because myself I'm very ignorant, but so many people in my community, they're not coming to the spaces and places. They don't know about that civic engagement meeting or association. So to not become like better than, or to just let your ego get involved. Think about the fact that you are a recipient of information to now be a conduit to the people who you know are connected to. And that's the role of anybody in those spaces. If you've been invited to that space, if you've been privileged enough and someone supported you to actually learn and to understand these things, it's supposed to spread beyond just you and the other folks who got that same experience. Because that privilege is not just for a small group of people; it's for all of us.
And that's why, and that's why Black Men Build is so important. Our work around political prisoners, our work around brothers behind the wall, sisters behind the wall, because there's a lot of brilliance, right? There's a book, Imprisoned Intellectuals, and just so much of how we move, right? So actually, before you ask this question, Black August, right? It's right now, right? And Black August first happened as a commemoration to George Jackson, Jonathan Jackson, in 1979, but it was again like to commemorate the struggle, right? So they fasted, they studied, they trained, and they fought, right? Fight, prepare to engage in struggle, and this has been happening. I think it's 45 years now. Yeah, 45 years, right? Of the practice of fasting during the month of August, right? Study. Training, fight, right?
It's partially why I've been yawning a little bit. I've been trying to keep it together because I've been on my Black August. I've been training and fasting, so I'm feeling it.
We have to do this show so late, and I'm like,
no, it's good. But as an organization,
it's good. It's good.
But part of as an organization, we participate every year, right? To commemorate and be in solidarity with political prisoners who are politicized, and just knowing that the system is jacked, that most of our people shouldn't be behind the bars anyway. And so when you talked about like the streets, or who, right? Like our analysis on fascism, you ain't reading George Jackson, you don't know nothing about fascism. Right, like I mean that's a lie. I'm not gonna say that. That's actually kind of elitist to say that. Yeah. But to talk about like someone not even in the streets who's in a cell 23 hours a day, right? Who has this analysis of how we understand fascism, his exchanges with Angela Davis, is profound. And we still look to George Jackson to understand fascism in this country instead of looking to Europe or looking to Nazi Germany as their analysis, or Italy. We can look at it. He was the first to be like, nah, here, police, the state, prisons, it's here. You know what I'm saying? And it still is, right? And even more so, right? Project 2025 and everything else is going on, right? It's like, and he didn't see the light of day damn near. He had this understanding,
Well, that's his own, like, that's his own culture and society with people who are behind the wall. My dad was one of those people. And I had to, while he was there and when he got out, I had to learn parts of that culture when he was communicating with me or in community with me, because it is a separate, I think, not separate in a bad way, but it has its own value, and it's something that you can't understand unless you've actually been there.
Indeed.
And so when we're talking about people who are subject matter experts in their own experiences, all of that is valid. But too many times I think we just exclude people because they're not showing up in a package that feels palatable.
Right? We're all imperfect. Like if you think about the patience someone's took for you to get to that point. Like being groomed is not by chance. Like we choose people, we put a lot of energy into them. So just paying it forward like is the greatest gift that you can give. So finding a way to do that like through an organization, like doing community programming. I'm really an event producer.
Yeah.
That got transformed into organizer through people like Equindale, do political education, realizing that like it's one thing to have fun and to build community, but what is it for? What is the impact? Like they say, align your intention with your impact. My intention was I want to have a good time and do all these things, but what kind of impact am I making? And your impact can be a continuation of these things that are going on in our society, or it can be something that's bringing change and bringing just a different light. So that's what for me brought me into organizing and wanted me to stay on that path of being like this discipline, this alignment, this different lifestyle is fitting me, and it's not like it's a stressful change. It's really in alignment with who I am every day. Like a lot of things that we fight for and study about are conditions that we all deal with every day. It's not like it's separate from. It's really a way to take serious and to acknowledge and to be proactive about the fact that none of us, we're not free enough yet. Things aren't good enough yet. Even things are good. Like right now, we fly. Like Dreamcatchers, this is good.
Right.
I'm not gonna complain about the fact that as a Black person in America, I'm very comfortable right now.
Yeah.
But it's not enough because there's more that can be done. There's other people that could be in this room, other experiences. So to know that it's possible, like and to see wins when you do more homework, you see other groups, like that means a lot. Like when you really care about doing something, you'll join the team. Yeah, you'll join the team. Yeah.
I also think like when I think about Black men and longevity, like I heard you say like you were out in your garden today, and I think all of that is really impactful when you talk about a Black man's life. Expectancy is shorter than I think everybody else's, right? Like all of the things that y'all are talking about, like I think also lend to really like your wellness, like your long-term happiness, wellness, all of those things. So I think it's important work that y'all are doing, because it's not just, political education. It's not just, it's the whole Black man.
Yeah, I put it in these 3 buckets lately. I've been doing my best to try to articulate. We've been doing a lot of tabling, and I've been trying to like teach other folks how to speak about it so we can feel confident and feel collective. I've been saying healing, service work, and political education. Those are at least our focuses right now. We do a lot of different things. Like we do a lot of training, a lot of, we engage and struggle in a lot of different ways. But right now, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we're focused on healing, like engaging in service work and political education. If you're learning, if you're serving, and you're healing, you're gonna be right where you need to be in your community.
Yeah,
right
you feel like I think there's like a piece that comes
literally
along
be right
with
where
that.
you need to be.
Yeah. I know y'all are embarking on a new mentor. Can you talk a little bit about, do you do that every year? Is that new for this year? Can you talk about what that is?
I've been talking a lot as well. And so
we've been going back and forth.
So what's crazy is I love that it's raised my awareness. Like we step up, step back. There's a lot of practices. We have a lot of rules of engagement when we meet. So I love my brothers, love myself, but I always remind myself, like, what's up, brother? But New Men's Tour is a moment for us to rebuild the circle. We have our men's circles twice a month in all the places that we have Black Men Build. Also our circle cities. Like before we develop a hub, we develop it as a circle city where we start to have our men's circles. And the New Men's Tour is a large celebration, commemoration of that energy in each of the cities in which we have hubs. So ours will be August 24th. Our goal is to get 150 men in the room to have these real conversations about what does it mean to heal during wartime. Like all of our magazines we give out, our wartime magazines, and this issue is about healing. We know that if you're at battle, you need to be healed. Like I said, I talk about being a gardener. I don't want to get that wrong, but there's something about a gardener and a warrior. Somebody look it up. But being a new man is about acknowledging the ways of the old man and the ways that we need to learn and grow and evolve into what our communities, what our families are asking us to be. We know that it's possible. We can't do it alone. So to do it in a community is the best place to do it. And we've been doing our men's circles for about 4 years now. So we've learned a lot about how to hold space for Black men. So we want to just amplify that and like bring that caliber up a little bit higher. Make safe space to have vulnerable conversations. We say it's a space for warriors to allow themselves to be weak, to not like to be weak, but allow yourself to just be open and be in whatever state that you're in. Free food, good vibes. We're doing a really intentional job of bringing in some of the key players in Columbus, some of the Black men who embody some of that new man energy to just be a part of that day with us. The main day will be really focused on conversations, give at least 90 minutes. Like the 9 is something that's really big in Black Men Build lore, so we'll have 90-minute conversations. And then for us, we're gonna have a second part of the day where just to celebrate a little bit. I feel like Black manhood can get real cerebral, but we did this somatics healing when we at our last retreat. So we got to get in our bodies too. So we're gonna have some fun. But just a good day for us to have these real conversations with the goal of coming together so we can become more of a political force. Like right now it's an election year, so that's why it's also really good for us to do this in all of these cities. We know a lot of Black men haven't been active in politics. Most of us been pleading the fifth about national politics, but we know that like local politics matter and they have implications in our day-to-day life. Like, having a space where we can have these conversations and we can lead to those conversations of building a real political force. We have dreams and visions of what it will be like if a lot of the Black men could be on the same accord, had similar agendas about things and what that would look like.
Yeah.
So our Doom Mentor is going to be a way for us to finally try to express that, try to agitate that and bring that to life a little bit. Very much looking forward. Been a lot of planning. These last few weeks, try to get it together.
I love that. And I'm excited to be a part.
Also, women are welcome.
Yes.
Not to the circles,
Yeah.
but to everything else.
Tell me why you think Black Men Build is like important in this moment, like that we're in right now.
Why Black Men Build? Honestly, Black Men Build is important in any moment until we're free. You can go back 30, 40, 50, 100 years. Hopefully we don't have to be in existence in decades.
Right.
But we know how change happens, and particularly in this country where armed struggle isn't a thing. It's not really, I can't say it's possible. I'm not that kind of, but it's not the most successful option, right? To a place like Cuba or elsewhere, right? It's important in this moment because, I think, one, Black women are fed up with the bull. So it's like, turn it around. Our kids also are in desperate need for Black men to be transformed. And I think, honestly, I mean, I want to say, but even more importantly, brothers need each other in a way that we haven't had each other. In a way that, we can say I love you, in a real way. We can see each other in a real way. It's also like, the stakes are high, right? Like the stakes are probably as high as they've ever been. Our schools, inflation, our health, the planet. I mean, the stakes are so high. There's not a subject where the stakes is not as high as they've ever been.
Well, that's kind of what I meant. Like, it's different. What's going on is different right now than I think anything we've ever faced. And I think when I think about like my heroes in this work, try to think about not what went wrong, right? It's not always what went wrong, but what have I learned? And I'm curious about that too. Like, what from the folks who are in this work who you consider heroes, what do you plan to do different? I've heard some of it already. Yeah. The inclusion of women in a real way is very different, right? To say, to talk about that and to actually like put it into practice. But are there other things?
Other things as in like...
or doing things maybe different, like we've learned from
what
folks,
we doing, like what we doing.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
or is that like one of the biggest things?
I mean, well, that's one of the biggest. But I mean, I love, like, for example, Amilcar Cabral, and what was a successful revolution in Guinea-Bissau, but that's, for me, is always a model. The Black Panther Party is always, right, a nod to any struggle we engage with since then. And what did we learn, right? Like, we learned that, how we engage with youth is different. How we think about money is also, like, different. We think about healing. I don't know if they were doing actually healing work while they were doing this deeply traumatic work with mostly poor kids, poor youth, poor young adults. I think, at times, right, they were a practice of martyrdom. And that's what we commemorate, right, with Black August, because so many of them are wrongfully in prison for a lifetime.
Yeah.
But also not just them, right? Many others, right, who've either lost their lives or whatever the case may be. And we realized, like, my son need me to be a dad longer. He need me to
Yeah.
be alive. I'm trying to reach triple digits, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But
Trying
not
to reach a long life.
long
Yeah.
life. You
I'm
know,
gonna die for
I
this
deserve
work.
that long life. But not
Yeah.
just me, but my village deserves me to have a long life. These are some of the things that matter for sure. And, you know, one of the things last thing I say too is, you know, one of the things we learn too is the work is always now, but we also know that we play in a long game,
Yeah.
long strategy, right? We look at most successful like revolutions, you know, how long did it take Lyndon to develop that party? How long did it take Mao? It took Mao like 17 years to organize peasants, you know what I'm saying, in like countryside of China. Different time period, I get it, you know, but we
The
just
principles are the same.
yeah.
Changing.
period, right?
Yeah.
Like if you wanna go with your people, it's gonna take that time. If you don't want to go with your people, then you're gonna look like black misleadership in like Columbus, mayor,
Where you have
previous mayor,
to
police,
bulldoze
this,
over
that.
people to get to what you think is the solution. And we continue to fail because what we think are the solutions are actually not. But if you stay in community and talk to people, then
Find
it's
all
going to
kinds of
take you a
solutions.
long time to do
take you a
that.
long
Yeah,
Right?
100%.
But then
Yeah.
you'll be way more successful in how your community changes, like
Yeah.
how the world changes,
Yeah,
because
And we
people,
want to be alive
actual
to see
people are
those
involved.
things. Yeah. Yep. We want to be around to see those
Yeah,
things.
you want to see glimpses of it. We deserve to see glimpses of it.
Yeah.
I liked the longevity though. Like you made me think about a lot. One of my homegirls told me we're cathedral builders. Like you may not see it done in your lifetime, but you got to do your part. Yeah, I feel like we've learned. Like I call myself a practical radical because we can't afford to be reactionary in a lot of spaces and places. Like especially as a black man. Like so. Being proactive is something I feel like we do a little bit differently. We have so much to learn from. Like, a lot of times you're reacting to times that we've never seen before. Like police brutality, it was extreme things you're responding to. So now things are still extreme in just in different ways. So we have to just study and be able to evolve with and adapt with the kind of problems we're seeing and acknowledging. So I think that's the biggest thing is to being proactive and being very strategic. I think that one of my favorite films and concepts and books is A Spook Who Sat by the Door. The idea of in the past, we didn't care if they saw us coming, but now it's like we got to be very smart about it because we want to live. We want to avoid prison and jail if we can, but that doesn't mean we need to slow down how much we want to make change. So what other ways can we go about doing that? And I think that that's where going back to the drawing board and really thinking about what's working, what's not working, like asking those hard questions to ourselves, to organizations.
And continuing to stay in it, right? Like never thinking that
Yeah.
all the
So many,
answers.
the turnover of organizers and activists is like they've been on the job for decades. It's like
Yeah.
some years, sometimes months, and it's just like, and I'm like, yeah, something wrong. Something is wrong if you're engaging in the struggle. So that's just the last thing I say. What we've learned, and I think what we are attempting to do, and what we're doing in Black Man Build, and I was reminded this. We was in Dallas last weekend. We had a circle, and in the circle, it was actually no trauma bonding. It was like everybody was talking about joy. Everybody's having a sunny day, and it's like, right, yeah. Joy is also a political force.
Straight up.
Joy can also radicalize you to engage in the struggle. It's not always leaning on your traumas. It's not always leaning on the terrible, right, that has been placed upon us or on doing to ourselves. It's also the joy. It's also like that. What I'm actually fighting for, right, is because I want our people to have peace and barbecue and chill and like do, and our kids to just frolic and and like just be. Like that's actually what I'm fighting for, right? Like,
And our
to fight
joyous
for that,
assets are our
that's
best.
a radical.
Those are our assets, right?
Yeah.
Like, and we have so many of them.
Yeah.
In
That's
so many
the
ways,
real
we've
anchor.
created the culture of joy and what it means in the United States, like as Black Americans, right?
Yeah.
It's a fight to protect that shit. Like once you
Yeah.
get it, you be like,
That's
like,
why
what
people steal
yeah,
black culture
that's-
so much, because there's so much joy infused in it. So we should not allow for our culture to be stolen from us, but also the joy in it. Jeez.
Exactly.
I talk
And
about
the
that.
challenge,
Like, yeah, like
the challenge in that, right? To your point, the challenge is, and you was talking about this, is the comfort. Like you get comfort in that joy, and you should be, but also we still need you to engage in struggle, right? Like we need to be able to do all the things together at once, or at different times, or at different stages in our lives. But the joy should also radicalize you to do more, to engage more, to serve more, to show up more, to continue to heal. All the things. It's not just I've reached. Actually, I'm just. What we see is we find our joy, and we separate ourselves from struggle, right? Engaging in civics and all those things sometimes, and it's like my life is good. And it's like I hear you, and I understand as Black people. If anybody, Black people should be
need a break, need a nap or
You know what I'm
something.
saying?
Yeah,
Right,
you deserve
I
it.
should
But
be
it's
asleep
also
right
like,
now.
but we also got to operate that I ain't free unless my people really free. And that's really a hard thing to embody, for real.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to embody.
Yeah.
I mean, it's capitalism.
Yeah.
It's
You know?
it's the most potent drink.
Yeah.
That's wild.
It
Not
is.
sipping that.
It is, right? Because you can easily say, like, I'm good.
sipping
Why
that.
would I be? Especially for people who've grown up in conditions
Yeah.
that were not great, right? Or were terrible. And they're like, I have reached this place to where I feel okay. And I'm ready to rest because I'm tired. I can't be worried about anybody else. So
And that's so
those
real.
those are right. When you're thinking about the diagram of people to organize, like
Yeah.
that's
It'd be deep because even in those positions, a lot of those things be fragile. That's what I'll be like. That's why.
Yeah,
That's why I get a little radical. I'll be like, are
none
you
of
really
that
good?
for us is
Are you
real.
really good? Like,
Yeah.
like, bro, like that's something that we all dealing with could happen to you right now, and like we can. And so yeah.
I mean, this is not a great example, but like, look at Kanye.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You think you have everything material in the world. You think you have it all figured out, but
Well, we
yet
can
and
burst.
still you are a Black man. Traversing the world as a Black man, right? And I think that it means something very different to the fragility of like your actual status in the U.S. and across the world. I mean, they're talking about right now how much racism the athletes in Paris are experiencing.
Right.
Like Serena said, I tried to take my kids and me to a restaurant and they wouldn't let me in. Like, so all of this is very precarious. You know what I mean? It's not real. And I think that's what we want. We want our happiness and our joy to be actually rooted in something that is real and sustainable and doesn't always feel like quicksand, you know?
Because replicate it. Like I work with a lot of youth, and like we talk about sustainable as like a buzzword, and I think it's especially for us millennials. Like I work with a lot of these younger folks, and they've been challenged me with the ability to like sustain is cool. Can you replicate it? Can you like can that thing be done and created in other places? And that's where I've been trying to like challenge. That's what Black Men Build is. We started in one space. We try to like, if it really works, we can build a system that can be regenerative and like and have an effect beyond just the one cause that one micro. It can get macro if we scale it up. I think that we have to at this point. Like we're at a point where a lot of the things like capitalism is that drink that'll take you out. So is there an alternative? Is there a substitute? Is there something else that we can lean on or have faith in or know is possible that I
Weed?
can? Yeah,
No, I'm
like,
just playing.
Yeah, what's up? What you know?
I said weed. I'm just.
I mean, it's Ohio.
Edit
Things just
that
changed
out.
like this week. Things just changed this week in Ohio. That's political. That's political.
Right.
That's why we try and get Black men involved. Like abortion and weed.
All of that. We did
okay
all of
here.
that last election
You feel me?
season.
And otherwise, it doesn't happen if you don't show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have to pay for stuff that's just natural in the wild. Like,
That's
why
wild.
do we have to pay for water? You know what I mean?
I mean, for real.
Like fruit.
Yeah. For you to fake, what is it called? To clean it?
They're charging us for grapes.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all
That just
charge me
literally
for
grow off the
apples in
vine.
Ohio?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
That's my challenge though.
Wow.
We gonna free the land, take back the land. But I be
Facts.
on, we got to learn how to cultivate. That's why I be out there. It's
That's
like,
what
one
me
thing to
too.
get it. It's one thing to get it. And it'll be
Me
like,
too.
ugh, I don't want to touch it. Like, then you call somebody outside of your community to do it.
Nah,
And then
I
this
learned how to do
this
all
loop
that
happens.
stuff.
Yeah, this loop.
Yeah.
I know you've been getting out, but we spoke about this a little bit. So that's where
And I'm very vain, so I don't like to be out there in the sun. But I had to.
you probably got some hats. So I know you
I
fly.
did, exactly. I
yeah.
did my workaround.
Go crazy. I love
Because that's
that. I
not
love
going to be
that.
my excuse when I need to learn how to
Yeah, but
grow
the
food.
produce is
That's
still
that balance.
producing.
Facts.
That's
It's
the-
still being
It
made.
is.
It's still
It is.
coming
You
to
can be
life.
the whole
My hands
spectrum.
may look 80 when I'm 40, but that's okay. That's
have
a
the
whole
whole
nother
spectrum.
construct we need to pull
Mm-hmm,
apart, right? It's ageism.
Yeah.
That could be a whole nother show.
Nah, Black Men Build Spaces are all ages. We've had your son in the space, who's now, 3 now? 3. We've had elders in the space in their 70s and everything in between. We have a lot of brothers in their 20s. 20s and 30s is probably our nucleus, but it ranges. You have to learn from, that's what I said earlier, a lot of us get caught and you get reinforced these beliefs that are harmful if you aren't speaking to people outside of them. Like a lot of the men that I see doing this work are speaking to youth, children, and youth, elders, and women a lot more. Like if you're having a real heart-to-heart, more open, and then your perspective and your horizons are changed, so you to see things a little bit differently than the way that you wouldn't if you're only speaking to people that are just like you.
Intergenerational is so important. Like the times where we used to live intergenerationally, there's just so much wisdom, I think, to those kind of structures. So I love that y'all are doing that. But we could probably talk
Yeah, I know.
all
I know we
day.
need to.
And
What else
of
you got?
course,
What else you got for
I'm gonna
us?
come visit y'all and come to some of your events. But I guess my last question would be, if folks want to get involved, where can they find you? Y'all have a headquarters? Folks can just walk in. Like, tell me about that. Like, if people want to know more about Black Men Build, what should they do?
I'll jump in on like the physical, and you can tell them some of the things they can engage with virtually. So physically here in Columbus, we have a hub. It's 78 Parsons Avenue.
Okay.
We're trying to make it more open more regularly. The doors are open for you to come in and do some co-working through the ROI, but the actual B&B space, I'm usually there. I've been there more frequently, like 1 to 5. I can say that publicly. I'm usually in the space. The doors are open. We do a lot of our programming out of that space. We have our war times around the city. We have them at the Reap Center. We have them at the Citadel. We have them at Believe the Fork. So they're around places you can get that publication.
Okay.
We've been tabling. You're going to see us at the Brownsville Market. We'll be at the African American Wellness Walk next week. We're on Black Men Build C-Bus is our Instagram page. But we also have the National Black Men Build. That's just literally Black Men Build. But they write a lot of stuff to us. There's a lot of touch points. So Instagram, in person, online, reach out to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ain't got nothing to add. I mean,
I'm a dad for him. We do a lot. We do a lot of things in person here, but we also do things virtually. Because it's one thing to connect just the bros here, but how do I connect all the bros international? And that's people's like, oh, I don't like this virtual. That's the only way that I can get bros from Milwaukee, St. Louis, all of them all in one space at one time. We do a lot of virtual programming. We do our mass calls. That's why like our mass calls, our Theory Thursdays. We do our orientation. A lot of things we do virtual so that we can make it accessible to a lot of folks. So we know our schedules are crazy. We try to record them, like a lot of stuff. That's what I'm about to lead into. We record. You can go on YouTube and check out some B&B content.
Okay.
It's a real thing.
People love the video content.
Exactly. And ours, we check our sources. Like if we give you some B&B content, it's not gonna be. We're not gonna try and lead you.
It's
on
not
the wrong path.
disinformation or
It's not no disinformation. Like, and if it is, check us. Like, we are very much open to that. Like, please. But most times, 100%.
That's the only way we can grow.
Yeah. Usually the homework has been done. Like by this guy, which is why I'm like, we do be doing stuff like it's a bunch
and I
of
got a team,
points.
right? And that's not right. I had a team.
Yeah.
Right? We
Yeah.
have a PE committee, political education committee. Brilliant brothers. I learned from them. They challenged me. We have a great crew. And it's not just them, right? Like I get stuff from hubs all the time. They hit me up, and so it's definitely reciprocal. But yeah, just to double down, we have mass calls monthly usually. And we usually highlight an interview with someone. We had an interview with Cornel West, Joe Morgan, Treva Lindsay,
Tulu Shakur.
Yeah, we have in the past we have
Dope.
Tulu Shakur, Jared Ball. I mean, it's a wide range of folks.
Well, Matt Africanus studies professor wanted me to sort of parse out hip hop. The first book he gave me was When Chicken Heads Come Home to Roost by John Morton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Word. Yeah.
I haven't read that one. You just put me on. You just put me on.
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
Yeah.
she really
That's fire.
brought
Really good.
Yeah,
That's fire.
it's a
hip
good
hop
one.
feminism.
Okay.
Yeah. So I know we talked a little bit before the camera started rolling about Ernest and somebody who the community loves. I just wanted to hold some space for Ernest because I know that he's done a lot with Black Men Build and for the community through Royal Oak Initiative, and just letting y'all know that we're holding all of y'all close, holding Ernest's family close, holding him close, and just acknowledging all that he's like contributed. And so just thank you for mentioning that before we even started, because like that's what friends do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
We don't get to this space without Ernest. Like
Yeah.
Ernest is the lead, like was the main person to drive the need for this in the city. Like he's believing that it was necessary for us to be together and to try and figure out a solution, being a chess player that he is. And like I was brought in through Ernest. Equindale kept me in, and we believe in things that are possible because of the way he was activating it and showing that was possible in his daily movements. So
and his
like,
brilliance. He's
yeah.
just he's been on this show. If folks
Yeah.
have missed that episode. It's an amazing episode with just
Yeah.
he's just one of those people that when they come into your space, they transform the space.
yes,
And so
yes,
he's
yes.
just very loved.
Yeah. Ernest is
much so.
different.
Listen, yeah.
It ain't a lot of brothers like Ernest. For sure. And I mean, honestly, the world, I mean, we'd be in
There
a
ain't
whole
nobody else
different
like
place.
Yeah.
There's more
facts.
brothers like Ernest.
Yep.
I mean, it's just what it is. And yeah, like you said, you know,
We
don't really
appreciate
get
the
to- we don't get to
contributions
where
of
we are.
him and his wife, right?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
they're both just
I mean,
Yeah.
how we think about,
give a lot.
eating well, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Cut the power for sure.
you know what I'm saying? Plant the Power,
Mhm.
the Veg Fest.
Veg Fest, yeah.
Was just
And just
happened.
being
Franchise.
genuine, right? You just don't
Yeah.
see enough of that.
Yeah.
Just know.
Leading with the heart, man. A lot of us be overthinking it, and obviously the man's thinker. Get into you. Like if you ever had a conversation
Yeah.
or tried to engage with him or anything, I was gonna say critical, but anything because
gonna
he's gonna
think.
make it critical if it's simple because
Talk
of
about
his
some
electrical.
critical questioning.
Yeah, like mental capacity that most of us like dream to get to. So it definitely
Curious.
has been.
That brother embodied the values.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always curious.
He does.
Always curious when we have conversations. Always critical thinking. Always thinking about the moment. You know, all right, we got this book club. How are we moving them to do this thing though?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Can we doing this, but how are we gonna develop a campaign out of it though?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what is that thing? And yeah.
We're better as a community.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so
I
just
key our motivating force. Like a lot of stuff we do,
Yeah.
like is based on we gotta just keep going. Some of the things we started.
Yeah.
And Ernest will be back with
He-
us to
right.
join us and like see all of the progression. So
Yeah.
we want him to have something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gonna get
Don't
back.
have him come
Yeah.
back and be like, no.
So, yeah.
No, he gonna be like,
He gonna come back like y'all was serious.
busy.
Yeah.
Like
Y'all been
that was the
busy.
goal
Facts.
because when you like you said, it's a real friend. It's like, nah, I really want to show you that I care, and the only way I can show you that I care is to see it through. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yep.
indeed.
Yep. Hold it down. So, and that's what y'all been doing.
Next man
So,
up.
Best way we can.
Yeah.
It's not
Man up.
easy. There's big shoes to fill. Big shoes to
Yeah.
fill. Big shoes to fill. Big shoes
For
to
real,
fill.
for real. So if anyone didn't have a chance to actually listen to the episode we did with Ernest a couple years ago now, make sure you check that out. So
Donate to his fund. Maybe
yeah,
when you post a,
yeah, we can put that in.
donate to his fund.
Shout out to his
Yeah,
family.
yeah, and shout out to his wife and his two beautiful children.
The whole fam, like the pops
yeah.
and mom, been meeting the whole squad. It's been.
Well, you don't make a person like that without being pretty,
family community.
amazing
Without being
yourself.
loved.
Yeah, yeah, without coming from a lot of love.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So definitely support that family, man.
Yeah. Well, y'all, this was, like I said, we could probably talk all night, but
Yeah. Maybe when you want to do that pop culture stuff, we can just shoot the.
I know,
just
right?
be like,
We're gonna do a less like deep.
I'm about to. I be
episode.
trying
we
to
ain't
like,
gotta talk about the work. We can just talk about.
start messing with this man too because I'm trying to act like he don't got a podcast and he works so we actually talk. I just forgot about this actually.
I know.
Nah, hot seat. We're gonna
Y'all?
pick it back up. If you need somebody, a supporter, accountability buddy, I'm
My
riding with
producer,
you.
Y'all
he been like,
should.
hit me up like, "What you doing?" I'm like, "Bro,
That might be how. That's
I'ma
okay.
be
That's
on
why I
you
exist.
now, now
That's
that
why I
I
exist.
know.
That's why I exist. We're gonna motivate you to do your show or his show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a support.
I'm not
however I
picking
can.
up another thing, but
Respect.
somebody
You can do a
else.
cameo. You can do a cameo, maybe.
Man, I'll do a cameo.
Yeah,
for
there we
sure.
go. We'll make it
I'll
worth
do
your
a
while. We'll make it
cameo.
worth your while.
Yeah.
You on
but-
the so when I got a guest list, you on the list.
Oh,
well,
well,
yeah.
perfect.
I
I
just
don't even
activated
need to
it.
do.
That's-
I
see?
don't need to, because Devin
just
would
gotta
be like,
execute.
"You're doing what?"
Uh-huh.
Sit down. He's always like, "Please
Mm-hmm.
sit
It's all
down."
possible. It got to happen in there.
It's real.
What's the order? What's the rhythm? What's the plan? Like,
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
I
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
y'all.
Yeah.
For what
Thank
you
you.
do for us. When I say us, I mean our people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, making it attainable, accessible. Like, definitely grateful for that. I talk about representing the ignorant. Most folks, I don't know where to. If I want to bring you into civic engagement and politics, I don't have a lot of start points. I am regularly bringing people here, all ages.
That's what I be saying too.
yeah,
It's
definitely.
boring and
Mhm, mhm.
convoluted,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
all meant to be that way. But we continue to press on with it.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm, mhm,
So. And I'll stop when I'm tired.
mhm, mhm. We're grateful. We're grateful
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Fine.
Thank you.
All
It's good.